In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to buy and sell houses from afar. I'm going to give you a little glimpse into an interview I did recently with a guy named Sean Pan. Sean Pan is going to talk to you about how to do business in some other city or some other state than the one you live in. Let's face it, sometimes where you live, your strategies just don't work. In my travels, I talk to a lot of students who simply just can't do business in the state in which they live in. It's not uncommon for them to be from California or New Jersey or New York or Massachusetts, someplace where prices are really high and or laws are not in the owner's favor. So that's when you might want to do business from afar. There can also be some little known or recognized advantages when you learn how to do business from afar, and we're going to talk about that as well. Before we start with this interview, I would like to give you a contact URL or a link so that you can learn more about Sean Pan if you want to, or you can learn more about his strategies. So go to everythingrei.com to learn more. Now let's start with that interview. Where do we start with you? First, give us a little bit of your background. You're a young man, 31 years old. That's what I consider that 31, although Sean has pointed out that there's people getting into this game that are 18 and 19 and 20 right now. It kind of makes me want to throw up if I think. I had my head so far up my butt when I was 18, it wouldn't even be funny to talk about. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody. My name is Sean. I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And, it's interesting because I wasn't really into real estate when I was, again, 18 years old. I went to high school, thought that you should just go to college and eventually get a good job, work there for 30 plus years and then retire. But that's not really what happened. I ended up going to college for a degree in electrical engineering. I studied really hard and I got a good job. But just seeing my coworkers every single day and just seeing how unsatisfied they were with their lives made me think that maybe this isn't the place to be. And what else is out there? And that's when I started looking at different books. I started listening to podcasts, even like the Bigger Pockets podcast, to learn more about different types of businesses to get into. And I actually tried several different businesses to try to earn that, financial freedom. And a lot of them didn't work out. I was selling selfie sticks on Amazon. I was trying to write ebooks. The only thing that really worked out for me was eventually going into real estate. And it just made sense that you could buy a property, have it cash flow, pay you that residual income, and then live off that passive income for the rest of your life. That's basically what I did. In 2016, I moved from Los Angeles back to the Bay Area. I was working a decent job. I had capital. I started attending these meetup groups. From the meetup groups, I learned more about how to invest in real estate. And that's when I started buying my first rental properties. And so that led me down the path of just being a real estate investor. And in 2019, I left my engineering role to go into real estate. And so that's where I am now. So now I host a podcast, I have a meetup group, and I also invest out of state and I flip houses locally in the Bay Area.
So I find it interesting to know how long from when you said, I think real estate's it, then you started attending all the meetups and the books and the tapes and seminars or whatever, till you bought your first property?
I realized I didn't want to be an engineer. Maybe after like the first year of working full time, I realized this is not where I want to be. So since then, I tried all these different things, and it made me took about 4 years, just casually browsing the internet, going to several meetup groups to actually purchasing my first property. So it took me 4 solid years of just waiting and like learning.
Trying to find where you fit, right? So
exactly.
Do you still have that same rent house, or have you sold it?
Yeah, I still have those properties. They're cash flowing very nicely, and I think the beauty of owning these rental properties is that it allows you to do what you want to do. So, most people, they have their jobs and they sometimes work at those jobs, not necessarily because they really want to, but it's because it's the only thing that they have. And they're scared of giving that up because they don't know if they'll get another job that'll pay just as well. Well, if you have rental income or passive income coming in, you can afford to take a lower paying job if you want to.
So are these rental houses in the San Francisco Bay Area?
So they're not. Honestly, I wish I could afford to buy a rental property in the SF Bay Area and hold on to it. But in the Bay Area, you can imagine the starter homes start at $1 million. Rents here, maybe
What's that, like
a
12?
starter home. Exactly. 1,250 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, built in the 1960s. And they're all in these, strange foundation areas. So we have cracks all over the home. My house is a prime example of that. And again, $1 million for this. In San Antonio, that same house you're talking about for 12,000 20 years ago, maybe now is 100, 150. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe 200.
Okay, so 200K. So ours is 5 times more expensive.
I don't know how people do that. How do people do it?
They do it because the jobs here pay so much. If you figure 2 people working in a high-tech company like Google or Apple, they could be making $200,000 as a base salary, and then they get stock options or bonuses.
A piece or total?
Yeah, each.
Oh, okay.
Each. Yeah. So that's how they can afford these, $1.5 million, $2 million price points. And that's why personally in my mind, I think that investing in the Bay Area is possible, but maybe the strategies have to be a little bit different. So if you're just buying and holding, it probably won't work out because you're buying for $1 million, renting it long-term for $3,500. If you guys know the 1% rule, it should be $10,000 a month to work out, but it doesn't. So they usually do other strategies like Airbnb or other kinds of short-term rental. And that's why investors like myself buy out of state for just the more casual plays of buying and holding and renting.
I want to interrupt this interview for 1 second. If you're finding this kind of information helpful, would you please hit that like button and hit that share button and let others know that we're around? If you haven't subscribed, please do it now. So what are some of the challenges you face when you live in one place and invest in another?
I mean, it's the same problem you're going to have even if you live close by, but it's even more so, and that's trust. You have to trust your team members to take care of you and to work on your properties as if it's their own. And then unlike having a property nearby where I can just drive by and make sure that the property manager is doing their job, I can't have the luxury to just fly over there 3,000 miles away just to check out my property for a weekend. So yeah, that's the biggest struggle, making sure you have the right team to take care of your affairs. Tell us about your team. What kind of team do you have? Okay, so I think the most important team member is your property manager because they're the ones that's going to be with you long term. But you need like a source of deal flow. And so for me, that's my real estate agent. Personally, I met them through Bigger Pockets. Biggerpockets.com is a great website and forum. So you type in, hey, I want to find members in blah, blah, blah city. And you can just talk to the people who respond to you. And then I guess vet them that way over the phone, check their references, and yeah, just make sure they're good people to work with.
So you hired a third-party property management company?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. And then who else is on your team?
Honestly, that's it. I would say the agent and the property management team members are the most important ones. Of course, you do need to have other team members like your loan agent, maybe a title rep if you're doing a lot of business there. But I think, yeah, property manager is probably the most important one because they're the ones dealing with your property on a long-term basis. And
how many do you have in Florida?
I have 3 separate properties, 6 units in total, 2 single families and 1 fourplex.
Okay. So how do you start out? Did you have money to buy these things? Tell us about your first transactions. How did you eke out your first transactions? Yeah, luckily I saved a lot through my W-2 job. Again, I was an engineer working in a defense contracting company for a long time. And, from my early 20s, I learned, how to budget, how to save, how to invest in like stocks and bonds and 401ks. In the very beginning, from 2012 to 2018, the stock market has just been going up and up and up and up. So we were lucky to have enough equity to buy the first property. And, if you can get a loan for 80% loan to value, houses in Jacksonville are maybe $100,000 a piece. So you really need only $20,000 or so for the down payment, and then maybe a couple thousand for closing costs. So it really doesn't cost as much as some people may think to buy your first rental property. Yeah, but you definitely didn't do a nothing down transaction. You did it, kind of on the chin. You went and saved some money and used the institutional money and their institutional terms. So how did you find these properties? Were you just using a real estate agent and MLS or what? Yeah, so the first one was through, just agent. It was on MLS, but he knew something about the deal, about how I wasn't moving and the reason why. Second one I got was on auction. So that probably was interesting. It was on auction.com. We got some information about how much we could purchase it for and have the bank kind of accept it. And we ended up buying it for $40,000. Again, I think it's a relatively risky move on our part because we didn't know what the condition was like going in, since you're not allowed to know. And
it's kind of like, all right, surprise, let's see what we get. But luckily,
Picked it up for a really good price though because of that, right?
yeah, exactly. So, luckily we bought that one for 40,000 or so. So maybe worth around 80. Luckily, again, my property manager had a contracting connections to get a contractor in there, and we repaired it for about 15,000. So the numbers are all so strange because in Florida, you can repair a house for 15K. In here, that same project may be like 70 plus.
If you guys want to learn about the meetups that he has, well, anything you want to learn about him, go to 1000houses.com/pan. And then there, Sean, you'll be able to put any contact information, your links to your podcast, your links to your meetup groups and all that stuff. And so, no one has to write anything down right now. We'll just go to 1000houses.com/pan, PAN, and you can learn any more. And I'm sure he'll have some contact information over there or whatever he wants you to have. And I appreciate you being on, man.
Awesome, Mitch. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
I'd like to thank you for taking time to listen to this interview with Sean Pan. I'm sure you found it informative. And for those of you that hung around, I would like to offer you this free gift. And that gift is the first 31 pages of my book, My Life in 1,000 Houses, 200 plus ways to find bargain properties. Now, what's important about this first 31 pages is that it's all about branding. And it's all about the things you need to do way before your business even gets rolling down the runway. If you do these things ahead of time, before everything starts to happen, you're going to be in such a better position than if you don't. Ask me how I know. A long time ago, I went off on my own, and I had to undo a lot of things that I had done wrong, and I wasted months and months and sometimes years worth of goodwill because the way I had my name, the way I was set up, the branding that I was doing was all wrong, and I had to trash can it all and start over. It cost me months and months and months and years in some cases. I don't want that to happen to you. So go to 1000houses.com/branding and get that 31 pages for free. It's a very interesting short read, and when you read it, you will understand exactly why I wanted you to read it. It'll make perfect sense. So check it out, 1000houses.com/branding. This is Mitch Stephen, and I will see you at the next episode.